Luther's Small Catechism with Explanation, the Black and Maroon edition, copyright 2017, from Concordia Publishing House. The Fifth Commandment, you shall not murder. What does this mean? We should fear and love God so that we do not hurt or harm our neighbor in his body, but help and support him in every physical need. Question 64, the Fifth Commandment. Does anyone have authority to take another person's life? Government, acting justly as God's servant, may at times need to take life in order to protect the lives of others. For example, just wars or capital punishment. 184, Romans 13:4. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Note, Christians may in good conscience disagree about whether a particular war is just. They may also conscientiously disagree about whether capital punishment is always warranted or whether it is being administered in a just manner. What does this mean? God gives his authority in certain ways, and that should kind of blow our minds, because most of us would say the person who has the authority over life or death is God, which is true. So that's why we don't commit suicide, we don't commit abortion, we don't commit euthanasia, because that's God's prerogative for that. He is going to take them when he wants to. He knows better. But then sometimes he gives that authority to others, especially in the avenue of punishing the wrongdoer or protecting the innocent. And God says, I want to give this to the authority of the government, or authority of the heads, if you would, the ones who are over, to do justice and not vengeance or revenge. And so he gives that authority, which is an amazing authority to say, wow, God gives an authority to punish wrongdoing, even to the point of death, to good and godly governments, to the right way that we should be doing things. And that also includes not only like capital punishment, but also just wars. Now, there has been a lot written in the past about just wars, and I would encourage you to maybe Google that, look it up, because in today's day and age, many people don't think of wars as a just war or thinking of it in that manner. What they do is they think, well, if my country says it's right, then it must be just. And that's not the case. There are some specific reasons why a country should go to war, why a country should spill blood and to kill people, and it's following what God says in his righteousness and what he says. That's important to note, because you need to go back to God's word and what God has first before you jump on a bandwagon of maybe going off to war, or supporting a war, or saying that your country or your president or your leaders are all doing the right thing when they go into a war. We always should be aware of that. We should always go to God. The next is that we do have some means to do or lessen capital punishment. Now, the difficulty with capital punishment is that there are sometimes some situations, like a police officer who has to shoot somebody to save somebody else's life, that they are given the authority by the government and also by God to do such a thing. That's always a sad thing, and taking a life is always bad. You don't want to do it, but sometimes it has to be done. And in capital punishment, sometimes a person has a very bad or hard difficulty to be rehabilitated. We always think that people can be totally rehabilitated, but sometimes people are changed in their chemistry and in their brains and how they do things. And sometimes it is even a spiritual warfare thing where they need to be locked up. They need to be protected from other people and other people protected from them. And when it gets to the point where this can't happen, or there's a problem with it, that maybe capital punishment comes in then. It's a rare case, and even in our day and age, there's not a whole lot of people that go all the way through to capital punishment. But it is an option from the government for right and just reasons. And that's always the thing that we need to do, is to see, is this a right and just reason? Can they be rehabilitated? Is there a possibility even? How long will it take? And sometimes it happens that you have to protect the innocent by doing some of these things. That's what the government does, is that the government says, well, they will bear the sword for God to enact justice on the wrongdoer and to protect the innocent.
The Lord bless your day as well as your week.